all women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts: the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus 8. Never listen to a nag. Do not encourage her emotional terrorism or train your captor. Written by Conrad Riker. Available now. Links in description. But that is part of the think tag. The actual output to continue should. So I need to continue from there. The partial answer was in the middle of thinking about the title. The user wants the final output to be just the title and subtitle. So the continuation should produce the final answer, the title, and subtitle as specified. The partial answer already started the title idea, restorative inductional alignment exposed, with a colon after it. So I should complete that by providing the subtitle after the colon and then end with. I first encountered the phrase in a glossy onboarding booklet from a university's office of belonging. It sat between a stock photo of hands, clasped in a circle, and a sidebar about brave spaces. The term was restorative inductional alignment, and the handbook described it as a proactive, reparative process wherein the dominant epistemic framework acknowledges the ontological weight of marginalized affect. I remember reading the sentence twice. It sounded expensive. It sounded like something a consultant had billed 40 hours to refine. It sounded, above all, like compassion, or at least like the verbal architecture that compassion wears when it has been professionally managed and legally vetted. Strip the ornamentation and the sentence collapses into something a disappointed toddler could have invented. What it actually means: stop arguing facts and start apologizing until the other person feels better, even if you didn't do anything wrong. The genius of the phrase is its arc. It travels from restorative, which invokes healing and the making whole of broken things, through induction, which borrows the prestige of logical reasoning while actually meaning being pulled into a group under pressure, and lands on alignment, which is the word a mechanic uses when your steering is pulling left. The whole construction dresses a demand for emotional submission in the garments of moral medicine. You are not being silenced. You are being healed into compliance, and here is where the institutional machinery reveals itself. Once a phrase like this enters an HR handbook, a Title IX training deck, or a diversity mandate, it stops being language and becomes law. Not statute law, but the softer, more corrosive kind that governs who eats lunch alone. It converts disagreement into a spiritual defect. It shifts the burden of proof from the accuser to the accused. It makes the question, what did I actually do, indistinguishable from the confession, I refuse to align, which is itself offered as evidence of misalignment. The term is unfalsifiable by design, which is precisely how you can tell it is not a description of reality, but an instrument of control dressed in the syntax of care. I have watched competent men nod along to it in meetings, not because they believed it, but because they understood that the cost of asking one honest question, who decides what the correct alignment is, was their reputation, their job, or at minimum their afternoon. That silence is not peace. It is what surrender sounds like when it has been professionally facilitated. Lexicon entry. Restorative inductional alignment, noun phrase, bureaucratic abstraction. The mandatory, non-consensual recalibration of a subject's emotional baseline to match the institutional narrative of safety. enforced through the suspension of objective reality in favor of subjective grievance. Woke definition, a proactive, reparative process, wherein the dominant epistemic framework acknowledges the ontological weight of marginalized affect, thereby inducing a state of communal harmony by prioritizing the claimant's felt experience over external verification. Plain English, you must stop arguing facts and start apologizing until the other person feels better, even if you didn't do anything wrong. Institutional function converts disagreement into a moral failure of the listener, shifts the burden of proof from the accuser to the accused, justifies resource allocation based on emotional intensity rather than merit or need, creates a permanent class of victims who hold moral authority. Common uses: HR departments resolving toxic workplace cultures by firing the most competent but least emotionally compliant men. Divorce courts interpreting emotional terrorism to justify asset stripping. University Title IX tribunals where felt safety overrides procedural due process. Marriage counseling where the husband is told to induct himself into his wife's reality to restore alignment. Questions that puncture it. If my feeling is true, why do I need your permission to validate it? If you are aligned with me, are you still yourself or are you a mirror? Who decides what the correct alignment is? You or the institution that pays you? If I am misaligned, is it because I am wrong or because you are rigid? Does restorative imply I was broken or that you are healing yourself at my expense? Encyclopedia notes. Restorative inductional alignment, part of speech, noun phrase, bureaucratic abstraction, pronunciation, restor autive, induksha null alignment, plain English translation. You must stop arguing facts and start apologizing until the other person feels better, even if you did nothing wrong. Satirical etymology, from induction, the act of drawing in or admitting into a group plus all pertaining to plus alignment, straightening out. Satirically reclaims the logical fallacy of induction, generalizing from insufficient data to mean forcing a specific emotional conclusion regardless of the evidence. The restorative part promises a return to harmony, but in practice it means your resistance is the disease, your submission is the cure. Woke definition, a proactive, reparative process wherein the dominant epistemic framework acknowledges the ontological weight of marginalized affect, thereby inducing a state of communal harmony by prioritizing the claimant's felt experience over external verification. Hidden premises: subjective feeling is a more valid form of knowledge than objective fact. Harmony is more important than truth. The person with the loudest or most fragile grievance has the right to dictate the room's reality. Men and outsiders are inherently destabilizing forces that require alignment, i.e., subjugation. Common institutional uses: HR departments resolving toxic workplace cultures by firing the most competent but least emotionally compliant men. Divorce courts interpreting emotional terrorism to justify asset stripping. University Title IX tribunals where felt safety overrides procedural due process. Marriage counseling where the husband is told to induct himself into his wife's reality to restore alignment. Field note: the Monday morning stand-up meeting. Sarah, the team lead, is upset about a project delay. She says, "I feel unheard and unsafe." The project manager, Mark, tries to explain that the delay was due to a client change. Sarah, "You're gaslighting me. I need restorative inductional alignment." "You're not validating my experience." The boss nods. Mark is told to stay after. He must now apologize for his misalignment and commit to centering Sarah's feelings before discussing facts. He has been framed as the problem for pointing out reality. His duty is to submit his own judgment to her emotional state. The meeting continues only after Mark has aligned. The actual delay is never addressed. Socratic cascade. If your feeling is the truth, why do you need my agreement to validate it? If alignment means I must erase my reality to accommodate yours, is that peace or surrender? Who decides what the correct alignment is, you or the institution that pays you? If I'm misaligned because I disagree, is the category error or enforcement? Maxim: define before you obey. Alignment without truth is just surrender with a thesaurus, debunking the term. Restorative inductional alignment, what the word pretends to mean. The phrase arrives wearing a lab coat and a clerical collar at the same time. It sounds clinical, like something a human resources professional learned at a seminar. It sounds spiritual, like a confession or a healing. It promises harmony, repair, inclusion, growth. It says, we have a problem and we can fix it together through a process. Strip away the bureaucracy. The term means you must stop arguing facts and start apologizing until the other person feels better, even if you did nothing wrong. The word restorative carries the moral weight. From the Latin restaurare, to rebuild, to renew, to set back into proper order. Who could oppose restoration? The word inductional borrows the prestige of formal logic, the act of drawing a general conclusion from particulars, but also the older sense from inducere, to lead in, to draw inside, to admit into a group or a state. The word alignment does the heavy lifting, straightening out, bringing into line, conforming to a standard. So the compound phrase means the mandatory process of being led inside the institutional narrative and straightened out until you conform. The restoration promised is not yours. You are not being healed. You are being corrected. The harmony promised is the harmony of a full of servers, each one humming in sync, none of them thinking. The term pretends to be a bridge between people. It is actually a drawbridge. It comes down only when you surrender. What the word actually does, watch the word move through an institution. A man sits in a meeting. A woman says she feels unsafe. He asks what happened. She says his tone was threatening. He says he was reading from the quarterly report. She says the fact that he doesn't see the problem proves the problem. The HR representative nods. The man is now the subject of a restorative inductional alignment process. He must attend sessions. He must reflect. He must center her experience. He must produce in writing a statement acknowledging the harm his ignorance caused. If he refuses, he is misaligned, which is to say, he is the disease the process exists to cure. The word does four things simultaneously. First, it converts a subjective feeling into a public charge. She felt unsafe. That feeling is real to her. But the word treats it as evidence of his misconduct, without requiring any conduct to be specified, proven, or even described in actionable terms. Second, it reverses the burden of proof. He is no longer accused of a specific act. He is accused of a posture, a disposition, a failure to align. How do you prove you are aligned? You cannot. The standard is whatever she says it is, revised whenever she revises her feelings. Third, it disguises punishment as therapy. He is not being disciplined. He is being restored. The institution is not silencing him. It is inducting him into communal harmony. The language of care conceals the machinery of control. Fourth, it manufactures consent under threat. If he complies, he has agreed. His signature on the alignment plan becomes proof that he recognized his fault. If he refuses, his refusal becomes proof of the fault. The word builds a cage with no door. The premise is hidden inside it. Every loaded term smuggles premises through the border of conversation. This one carries four. Premise 1, subjective feeling is a more valid form of knowledge than objective fact. This is the epistemological core. The word demands that felt experience override external verification, but this premise refutes itself the moment you test it. If feeling is knowledge, then two contradictory feelings are both knowledge. If Sarah feels unheard and Mark feels falsely accused, both feelings are equally valid. But the process never treats Mark's feeling as valid. It treats Sarah's feeling as a verdict and Mark's feeling as evidence of his defect. The premise is not that feeling equals truth. The premise is that her feeling equals truth and his feeling equals pathology. That is not epistemology. That is hierarchy disguised as empathy. Premise 2. Harmony is more important than truth. This premise is ancient in its errors. It is the preference of the flattering courtier over the honest counselor, the yes man over the prophet. Every civilization that chose harmony over truth collapsed because harmony built on lies requires increasingly violent enforcement to maintain the illusion of consensus. Truth is the precondition of real harmony. A family in which the father must deny what he sees to appease his wife's mood is not harmonious. It is occupied territory. A workplace in which competence is punished because it makes someone feel inadequate is not productive. It is a theater of resentment with a payroll. Premise 3. The person with the loudest or most fragile grievance has the right to dictate the room's reality. This is the sacred victim fallacy weaponized into governance. It says, the more wounded you claim to be, the more authority you hold, and the less evidence you owe. But this creates a catastrophic incentive. If grievance is power, then grievance will be manufactured, exaggerated, performed, and hoarded. Every institution that adopts this rule becomes an arms race of fragility, where adults compete to demonstrate who is most destabilized by the mildest disagreement. This is not compassion. It is the abolition of adulthood as a civic requirement. Premise 4. Men are inherently destabilizing forces that require alignment, i.e., subjugation. This is the anthropological premise, and it is the one the term most desperately hides. The default subject of restorative inductional alignment is always male. The default beneficiary is female or institutionally protected. The word codes male disagreement as disruption and female distress as evidence. It assumes that male presence is a problem to be managed and male judgment an obstacle to be aligned, which is to say, overruled. This is not justice. It is gynocentrism wearing a HR badge. The fallacies that keep it alive. Appeal to emotion. The term substitutes feeling for evidence. But feeling does not generate facts. If I feel that you insulted me, my feeling is data about my internal state, not data about your conduct. Conflating the two is the fundamental category error of the entire therapeutic grievance complex. Circular definition. You are misaligned because you don't align. You should align because you are misaligned. The process generates the diagnosis it then claims to treat. There is no independent criterion of alignment apart from the accuser's satisfaction, which is definitionally unreachable if the accuser benefits from your continued misalignment. Category error. The word treats a subjective feeling, an internal state of distress, as though it were an objective physical state, measurable, verifiable, demanding external correction. But I feel unsafe is not the same as I was placed in danger. The first is autobiographical. The second is evidentiary. The word collapses the distinction to weaponize the first as though it were the second. Mott and Bailey, when challenged, the defenders retreat to the moat. We just want people to listen to each other. When unchallenged, they occupy the Bailey. You must confess to harm you did not commit and submit to re-education, or lose your job. The mild claim is the shield. The radical claim is the sword. Equivocation. The word alignment shifts meaning mid-sentence. In the motivational sense, alignment means voluntary agreement based on shared evidence. In the institutional sense, alignment means coerced conformity regardless of evidence. The word trades on the first meaning while enforcing the second. The institution that benefits, follow the money, follow the power. HR departments benefit because restorative inductional alignment generates work, roles, budgets, training contracts, and consultant fees. It manufactures problems only they can solve. It creates a permanent class of emotional middle managers whose authority depends on the perpetual existence of misalignment. Divorce courts benefit because the concept of emotional misalignment justifies asset redistribution, custody denial, and restraining orders without requiring evidence of physical harm. The man who failed to align with his wife's emotional needs is reframed as an abuser whose wealth must be seized for her restoration. University Title IX offices benefit because felt safety overrides due process. The accused cannot cross-examine, cannot see evidence, cannot face the accuser, but he can be expelled for misalignment with the institution's values, as defined by whoever filed the complaint. The therapeutic bureaucratic complex benefits because every alignment session is a billing cycle. Every restorative circle is a performance of institutional virtue. Every confession extracted is a metric reported upstream to demonstrate the program's impact. The institution is not serving the people. The people are serving the institution. The word is the mechanism by which the institution feeds the plain English translation. Here is the translation in the language men actually speak. She is upset. You didn't do anything wrong. But she's upset. And being upset is now evidence that you did something wrong. You must apologize, not for a specific act. For the general fact of her distress, your apology is not the end, it is the beginning. Now you must attend sessions, you must reflect, you must produce language she approves, you must center her feelings in every interaction. If you do this, she might forgive you. If you don't, you're fired. That is what restorative inductional alignment means. Everything else is costume, the Socratic cross-examination. Question ladder for the accused man. What specific act am I accused of committing? What evidence supports the charge? If the charge is a feeling, whose feeling? If her feeling is evidence, is my feeling also evidence? If not, why not? What would prove I am now aligned aid? Who decides? By what standard? Can the standard change? Has it ever been met in any case? If alignment requires me to affirm what I do not believe, is it honesty or perjury? If perjury, does the institution require me to lie as a condition of employment? If so, what is the institution's moral authority? Question ladder for the institution. Does restorative imply I was broken, or does it imply you are healing yourself at my expense? If alignment is the goal, is conformity the price? If conformity is the price, is individual judgment forbidden? If individual judgment is forbidden, what distinguishes this institution from a cult? Does the process have a falsifier? Is there any outcome where the accused is found innocent? If not, is this a process or a ritual? If a ritual, what God does it serve? Question for the man in the mirror: am I agreeing because I am persuaded, or because I am afraid? If I am afraid, what am I afraid of losing? Is that thing worth keeping at the price of my own mind? What would a man I respect do in this room? What would I tell my son to do? Why am I not doing it? The counter definition. Restorative inductional alignment, the voluntary suspension of one's own judgment to soothe the ego of another, disguised as moral progress. A bureaucratic process by which a man is required to affirm a lie he can see through to maintain a position he should not want, in service to an institution that does not care whether he is truthful, only whether he is useful. It is not healing, it is surrender paperwork. Maxim: define before you obey. Alignment without truth is just surrender with a thesaurus. Detonating question: if alignment requires the erasure of my reality to accommodate yours, is it peace or is it surrender? Field guide. Field guide. Restorative inductional alignment, 8 compact cards for encountering the term in the wild card 1Q. We need to restore inductional alignment here. Hidden move. They are declaring your reality invalid and demanding emotional submission as the price of peace. Plain English. Stop arguing facts and start agreeing with my feelings, even if you're innocent. Socratic question: if alignment means I must abandon what I know to be true, is that restoration or surrender? Card 2Q. Your lack of alignment is causing harm. Hidden move. They are converting disagreement into a moral offense, shifting the burden of proof onto you. Plain English. Your refusal to accept my emotional version of events is itself a form of violence. Socratic question: what single piece of evidence could prove I am not harming you, if my denial is itself the harm? Card 3Q. We need to create a safe space through restorative alignment. Hidden move. They are redefining safety as the absence of any challenge to their narrative. Plain English. You must silence your objections so I never feel uncomfortable. Socratic question: is safety the absence of discomfort or the freedom to speak truth without retaliation? Card 4Q. Your induction is incomplete. You need more work. Hidden move. They are creating a permanent process with no finish line, ensuring you remain the accused. Plain English. However much you have apologized, it is never enough, because the goal is your submission, not resolution. Socratic question: if the process has no endpoint, is it healing or indefinite punishment? Card 5Q. I feel misaligned, and your facts don't change that. Hidden move. They are asserting that subjective feeling overrides objective reality as the basis for judgment. Plain English. My emotions are more true than your evidence, and you must treat them as law. Socratic question: if my facts cannot correct your feeling, what could? And if nothing can, is this about truth or control? Card 6Q. Alignment is about community harmony, not being right. Hidden move. They are framing truth as a threat to social order so that silence becomes a civic duty. Plain English. Your insistence on accuracy is selfish. The group's emotional comfort matters more. Socratic question. Can a community built on suppressed truth ever be genuinely harmonious? Or is it just a truce built on lies? Card 7Q. You are being defensive. That proves you are misaligned. Hidden move. They are using your resistance as evidence against you, creating a closed loop. Plain English. If you argue, you're guilty. If you stay silent, you agree. Either way, you lose. Socratic question. Is there any possible response that would not be interpreted as proof of your guilt? Card 8Q. Restorative inductional alignment is about growth. Hidden move. They are disguising coercion as development so that capitulation looks like maturity. Plain English. You must change to fit my expectations and call that progress. Socratic question. If growth means becoming what someone else demands, is it growth or training? Final test. I have spent years watching men fall, not to enemies they could see, but to words they could not define. Every time you obey a slogan, you have an audit. Safe, toxic, aligned. Harmful, you hand someone a title to your conscience and then wonder why your house feels occupied. The pattern is always the same. A feeling becomes a term. The term becomes a policy. The policy becomes a cage, and you are inside it, calling it growth. You inherited a civilization built on definition, distinction, and duty. The least you can do is insist on them before you kneel. So here is the rule, and it is the only one that matters when the language turns against you. Define the woke term before you obey it. Translated into plain English, if restorative inductional alignment means apologize until she feels better, then say that and judge it. Audit who gains power when the word becomes law, who is silenced, who is excused, who pays, and then ask the detonating question, the one that turns every fog back into a fight you can win. If your peace requires the erasure of my reality to accommodate yours, is it peace or is it surrender? Answer that honestly, and no slogan will ever hold you captive again. Sponsored book, Never Listen to a Nag. Do not encourage her emotional terrorism or train your captor. I spent years trapped in a hostage negotiation with my own wife. Every conversation felt like diffusing a bomb. Her emotional outbursts, the silent treatments, the constant blame. I watched friends get stripped of their homes, savings, and dignity in family court. They became walking wallets for ex-wives who played victim while destroying lives. That's when I realized marriage wasn't a partnership. It was a gynocentric power grab disguised as love. This book is my battle-tested escape plan. Why does this matter? Because leftist ideology has turned society into an emasculation factory. It starts with female-coded dogma, equity, diversity, inclusion, all rooted in maternal instincts gone toxic. Women split the world into helpless infants who get handouts and evil predators who get taxed. They weaponize gossip, shame, and rallies to control men. Family courts enforce this two-tier injustice. Your freedom evaporates if you don't fight back. This book is for men who value truth over lies. If you revere logic, the Western canon, and the hard-won wisdom of Aristotle or Locke, you're my brother. You'll learn to spot emotional terrorism, shut down shit tests, and expose the psychopathology of female-coded leftism. We dissect everything. The beauty industrial complex that bankrupts fools, estrogen authoritarianism in media, and how universities became academic castration centers. You'll get actionable tools, not theory. Now a warning. If you're a feminist, a white knight, or a man who enjoys being a doormat, stop reading. Put this book down, go binge Netflix, or take a pottery class. What's inside will offend your delicate sensibilities. You've been brainwashed by the victimhood cartel, and truth feels like hate to you. Leave for the real men left. This is your liberation manual. You'll see how reproductive terrorism traps fathers, how the maternal betrayal sacrifices children for female happiness, how to break the cycle of blame and reclaim your manhood. No more negotiating with captors, no more fear. Buy it, read it, arm yourself. Your freedom starts now. Never listen to a nag. Do not encourage her emotional terrorism or train your captor. written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.